You're watching Make WordPress Work with Lisa Butler of Elembee.com. In this video, I'm going to show you how to add an Instagram feed to a page on your WordPress site. Let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is install the Instagram slider widget. So go to Plugins and Add New. And then search for the Instagram slider widget. I already have it installed, but this is what it looks like. So once you've installed and activated your plugin, go to Appearance and Widgets. So you'll see that the Instagram slider widget added a new widget area called the shortcode generator. So you can move one of the Instagram slider widgets over into this area to generate a shortcode that you can use in your posts or pages. You can also use this widget in any of your widget areas. So say like you've got a footer widget on your site and you want to put an Instagram feed there, you can just put the Instagram slider widget into that widget area and it's going to display your feed. But in this case, we want to generate a shortcode so that we can add it to a page. So I'm going to expand the details here. I removed the title because I just want to show an Instagram feed on my About page. But you might consider putting follow me on Instagram or something like that, maybe with your screen, with your username so people can find you. And then you can also install a plugin called WP Widget Title Links. And that will add options to your widgets that will allow you to add a link to your widget title. So you could put in follow me on Instagram and then link it directly to your profile so that people are able to use that as a button to access your profile. So then you're going to want to search your Instagram for your username, or if you've got a special hashtag, you can put that in instead. I like to do this for clients who have like a travel page or something. You can use a special hashtag and then pull in all of the images from their travels, which is a really neat way to personalize it. The only thing to be aware of there is you can't search by both username and hashtag. So you're going to have to come up with a really unique hashtag, or else if other people are using it, their images are going to show up in your feed as well. And you don't want that. So I went ahead and put in my username, and then the source, we want to keep it at Instagram. And that will just make sure that it keeps checking and refreshing for new images. And then we want to save and display the images from the media library. And that just means that if there's any problems with the Instagram server, like if Instagram goes down, your images are still going to display. So then we're going to show, I'm choosing to show 10 images. I want to show a grid of 5 images per row in 2 rows. So that's going to be 10 images. And then you can check for new images as much as you want. I could get away with 24 hours because I don't post that often, but if you post a lot and you really want to keep that fresh, then you can bump that up. So I chose the thumbnails without border template for this video. That's going to show a feed. And then the thumbnails does have a border. The plain thumbnails template has a border, but I like to use the one without the border and then add the border via CSS. And that gives me more control over how large the border is. There's also options to do slider widgets instead, and that's just going to show one image at a time and cycle through those. And I go over that in my free video series, Create Coding Magic, which is at elembee.com/coding-magic. So I've chosen the template, thumbnails without borders. I have my columns at 5 so that I can show 5 images per row and have 2 rows of images. And then I have the large size image so that when my site is on mobile and the images start stacking on each other, they're going to be large enough to fill the space. So then order by, I chose date descending, but you can choose any of these options. On one client site, I had two Instagram sliders side by side, so they would cycle through at different rates. And so I just chose different order by options so that they wouldn't show the same image at the same time. So that's another fun way to change things up and have a little movement on your site and show your images. So in my case, I'm going to link to the Instagram image itself so that if people want to interact with my Instagram image, they can. I'm not a huge Instagram user, and so it's really just a way for me to add some personality to my about page and say, you know, here's what I'm doing outside of my time in my business. So if you're really trying to optimize your Instagram, you might want to set it to link to your Instagram profile, and that way people can follow you instantly there and see all of your images. So that's just a personal preference thing, whatever you prefer. And the other option is you probably don't want to do like a locally saved image or attachment page, but you could do a custom link. So let's say you had a special hashtag for any posts that you could shop. So you could show that Instagram feed of all of your shop items and then link that to your actual shop. And that would just keep some fun, fresh images on your site. Okay, so now that I have all my options in, I'm going to save it, and it shows this short code for my widget. So I'm going to copy that short code, and then I'm going to go over to Pages to paste the short code in my About page. So this is my About page, and I've added the short code here at the bottom. Now, when we go to my About page, this is what it looks like. So we've got my Instagram slider, but it definitely needs a little bit of styling to help it along, particularly because I've got a couple of vertical images, and that's kind of throwing off the whole grid. So what I want to do is I want to add some CSS to this grid to make all of the images square. So I'm going to right click and inspect element in Chrome to see what we're working with here. And so we've got this div with the class of JR Insta Thumb that's containing the whole Instagram widget. Within that, we've got an unordered list, and then each image is a list item with a link inside of that, and then an image inside of that. So the way that I want to make this responsive and square, I want my link to become a block, a square block, and hide anything that extends past that square block. So let's take a look at the CSS that I put together for this. So I'm going to start with this section here where I have the JR Instant Thumb, and I've targeted the list item and the link inside that. So the first thing I did here, I put display block because by default, links are inline items, which means they don't have any shape to them. So if I display them as a block, then I can make them a square. Then I put position relative. So because I'm going to absolutely position the image within that square so that I can cut off anything that goes beyond that. So it needs an anchor, or else it's just going to be positioned randomly on the page. So I've added my position relative to say that this is my anchor. Then I've made the width 100%. And then I've added a padding top of 100% because you can't add height 100% in responsive. So you want to do padding top 100%, and that gives it an actual space, and that keeps it, since it's both 100%, that's proportional, so that's going to make it square. I've also added the important tag because this particular plugin already had styling for the padding of the links, and so it would have overwritten what I put in. And then finally, I have overflow hidden, which is going to hide anything that extends past this square. So then I have my styling for the image itself, which is the JR Insta Thumb, and then the list item A, an image. So that I want to position absolute and do the top 0 and left 0, and that's going to position it in the top left corner of the link. And then I've also got this border radius 0, which is from my own theme because I have a default setting that all images have corners on them, and I don't want my Instagram widget to have rounded corners. So I'm going to go ahead and save this and reload the page. So this is what we have now. And I've also added some extra settings, which I'm about to show you, that make it extend past my content. So I'm going to show you how to do that next. So going over back to my style sheet, I took the containing div, the JR Insta Thumb, and I gave it a width of 142. And the way that I calculated that is I wanted it to be 1,000 pixels wide, and my content is 700 pixels wide. So I did 1,000 over 700, and that gives me the 142%. For the margin left, what you do is you divide this width in half, and then subtract 50% from that to make it positioned correctly. So that just nudges it over so it's actually centered in the column. So for me, that's going to be 21%. And if you look at the page, you'll see that we have it nice and centered, but it's slightly larger than the content around it. The other thing that I want to add, I want to get a little more space between my images and the text above it. So I'm going to go back and add a margin top of, let's say, 40 pixels. So when I reload the page, I have a little more space there. Thanks for watching this video. For more tips and tricks on how to use WordPress, visit elembee.com.